Okay, you can see the layout's now covered in a dust sheet. That's because I've started work on the raised section at the town scene, which is at the west end of the station. Now what I've done here is first of all I've jigsawed out an area where the old baseboard of the upper section used to be, and I've done the same in here. And this is for two reasons. It gives me better access to cleaning the track from the raised section, because obviously I've got a bigger clearance now. As you can see, the old level there, and I've attached the new level there on taller pillars, and this is raised about 30mm, so just over an inch. And the second reason was that if I was fitting, say, lights, street lights to buildings, if I only had a small gap between the old section and the new section, I couldn't get my hand in. So I've removed it as much as possible so I can have obviously wiring and stuff down there to get into to build the town scene when I get round to doing that. I've not removed it everywhere because the town scene only starts here, and I will manage to get my hand in there to get wired in certain parts, but the main area I've removed, I say, just with my jigsaw. I've then installed new taller pillars which take into consideration the old height plus the height of the new blocks plus the height of the ply. So these are raising at the same level all around. Obviously these are smaller because they'll just be glued and fixed to the old base, and these ones have gone straight to the bottom because I've obviously removed this big area, which is it actually was always going to happen in some kind of form, because I needed to get in there to clean the track better when the town section was there, and obviously sort any derailments and that in the tunnel if they happen. Okay, so this is the one side of the town I'm doing just now. The wood's cut for the second side, which will sit a little bit higher. It will sit 10mm higher, so it will be kind of gradual, very subtle, and a lot of this wood here will be removed again to allow access, and probably that will be removed as well to allow better access to the tracks that are underneath there. Why I've only raised it very slightly from this side is because I've got the kind of horizon here, and if I raise it too much you'd see kind of half tree, so I've raised it just around about the bottom of the tree area there. Yes, I'll have some town buildings and that covering it, but at least it's going to look okay for this area, which is going to be a gradual kind of hill. So I hope that makes sense. So I'm going to continue, I've laid this section here, and I'm going to continue belaying the top section now, and I'll show you what I've done after I've done that. That's the first side of the town raised section fixed in place now, and it's all been screwed and glued down, and if you can see here, it sweeps round with the right hand curve of the track there. And the distance between the track and the top of the raised ply section is about 85 to 90mm, so that will allow a nice gentle embankment to be put in there. You can see the difference between the old height and the new height there. Very, very small. That'll allow me to get a bit of a, an embankment type style there before the tunnel faces and whatnot. The town scene will continue along here and then gently, slope down, but that's not this winter's work. The back section's been cut out now, and I'm just going to replace those pillars with the slightly taller pillars to meet the height of the new town scene at the back. And where that white backboard is, if I take that away, with the new height I'll still be able to get into those tracks to do track cleaning and maintenance, and there might be a bit of track work alteration here depending on the incline when I'm going to start it. That turnout might move to nearer the exit, if you like, to the fiddle yard. But now that I can get in to do track maintenance, it's not such a big an issue. The reason I put the turnout there was because I could get into it to do maintenance, but now because of the raised section being a bit higher, it's not really a big deal. I can put it a bit further in. But really the next phase now is I'm going to put the back raised section in place. I'm not going to fix it down permanently because I'm going to have to do obviously some track work here for fixing down the incline, which is another project to be done before the end of the year. It's just working out where to start the incline to give the trains the best run up the slope. Okay, here I've got the end town section pretty much in place now, with the raised boards on both sides of the tracks. What you'll see here is I've done a similar setup to this side of the town. It's sitting on short legs there, which are screwed into the baseboard. Well, not screwed at the moment, but they will be. And it follows all the way around where the DMU is, and it finishes just there above or in front of the houses. It's probably going to get cut shorter than that. Probably going to get cut at the second last leg, which is about here, and I'll just kind of gently incline up there with some terrain embankment. So it's in place, it's not fixed down. I'll go around the other side and I'll show you what else I've been working on, and the reason why it's not fixed down. Okay, I'll remove one of these sections just now, and I'll go around here. I can lift this section, take that out of the way. Okay, what you've got here is the new legs or pillars for the raised section, and I've cut this bit of ply away so I can access the track here, and it also allows me to get in the other side there if there's a problem with a train on the other line. And even with the board in place, I can still get my hand comfortably in there to sort any issues with the track work, the point work here. What you'll notice different from the previous clip when I mentioned, or the previous videos when I mentioned having to redo the track at the lower section, what I have done is I've actually ripped it up. Come back out here a bit. The point work used to be here, which was all ballasted. There's the old hole for the point motor. I ripped all that up and I took it down to a single line, and the turnouts just before the fiddle yard, it's been fitted with a point motor and it's all checked and it's all working. That was done to allow me to put the incline in here, which is under these wooden blocks and weights at the moment, and I've cut all this away, and it's been cut in so that the trains coming down will not get in the way of this. This will require, because it's slightly raised, as you can see from the foam's actually glued down. I'm just gluing the cork on at the moment. This will have a slightly higher tunnel mouth to allow the trains obviously to clear it, especially if they've got a pantograph. Because it is raised by about 3/4 of an inch at this phase here. So it's starting the incline where that first weight is, and all the way along, all the way around the corner, in a very, very gentle curve. And where the last weight is, there's a gap, and that gap will be filled with a bit of ply on pillars, because it has now reached, the last weight there, it has reached the actual level of the upper baseboard. So if I just swing round here to show you closer, it's a 42-inch radius curve I've put on this, foam risers, and the track will come round, as you can see from the, move that out of the way. The track will come round nice and gently to join the incline to the TMD and the main line. Way back when I laid this, I actually had this on a flex. I cut it, so I was going to start the incline way back there and do it with plywood and wooden uprights to allow a really long incline. However, I found that I was working with 1.7 degree angle for the incline, and it was a pain try and get the wood cut, you know, the uprights to match that exactly, and I was struggling. So I thought, you know what, it works at the other end. I'm going to use these foam risers again in the inclines, and I started the incline a wee bit easier to give the train as long as a long straight as possible before it starts hitting the curve, and then the curve is as gentle as I can get it, whereas still meeting up with the desired track there. So that's all in place now. I'll go and fit the power base. Like I did put in my previous videos how to install an incline parts 1 and 2. I'll do all that, and I'll fit the track down again, same method. I'll just glue it down with epoxy resin, and that'll be the track work completed. That'll then allow me to fit all the town section down, screw it down, and leave it. I'm not working on this scenic area just now, but at least I'll have the raised sections for the town ready, and the inclines there, so it'll allow me to use the fiddle yard a lot easier to get trains to and from the upper and lower levels, without having to use one incline and change directions with the trains. So that's on the way to being completed, hopefully in the next wee while. Okay, what I've started here is the actual scenery and the terrain for the area between the incline and the upper section. And what I've got here is I've got my Celotex insulating blocks that I showed you in my previous videos. I've cut that into slices or strips, and I've also found some blue styrofoam lying about in my garage as well from old packaging, so I've just used that. And what I've done is I've started to lay it in kind of curved strips. The thinner you cut it, the easier it is to flex with the curve. If you stick a big block in there, there's no way you're flexing it. So I've got it sitting just proud of the level of the baseboard just now. That'll be kind of smooth and filed down. And obviously it starts very kind of like flat, but as it goes down, you'll see that the level of the incline drop, and obviously that'll have to be filed and you know, sloped, if you like, to join it up. All this kind of silly just block like that. Around about this area here, I'll start my retaining wall. Now I've deliberately left a gap there, as you can see, because that fits the very thin MDF that I've got, again from old packaging from a bit of furniture. There it is, and it's kind of got a backing on it like that. That kind of makes it a bit stiffer. But I think it's just kind of hardboard MDF, very thin, and that slots in there, and that is what the brickwork will be stuck onto, and then obviously the brick that will be slotted in there, and that will give a retaining wall, and obviously a bit of capping on it, etc. The retaining wall won't go right to the top of this section, it'll sit lower, so I'll still be able to kind of give that a bit of a slope, like I've started to do here, as you can probably see there. And that area is this, obviously going to be grass and weeds and stuff, and this bit here will be the retaining wall. As it goes further down, the retaining wall will become more prominent. I'm not changing height, I'm not getting any taller, it will just appear that way because the track bed is dropping away. When it gets to here, it will kind of curve round a little bit, for more obviously foam and stuff, until it gets to here. And you see where the changes come in, because I've put this bit of ply in, but I'm not really happy with it, because it's very difficult and very fiddly to try and get the bridge mouth, if you like, here. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to I've got another bit of ply, so I'm going to basically redo it and have it come into here, so all this will be filled in. So that's all covered, and this will be a more kind of square onto the track, if you like, bridge opening, and I'll line it all with brick paper and stuff, or brick embossed card. I'm using plasticard for this section, and it will come out at the other side there, where the track is there. And that's going to be a wee bit more of an angle, because of the nature of the raised section and the angle of the track. This is in the kind of planning phase, and I've kind of got designer's block with regard to doing this, so I came up with this idea, and obviously I'll just get another bit of ply, that'll be filled in, your bridge mouth will be there, it will meet the retaining wall, which might be slightly lower, and the retaining wall will now rise onto the bit where the blue foam is, and then, you know, get it all kind of filled in with weeds, grass, and I'll try to give it a bit of the old slope you know. What I'm using to give it the slope like that, bit of sandpaper, but if you want it done slightly quicker, I'm using a kind of subform file. It's like £3 or something, B&Q. That's a Stanley one. And I've also got the slightly larger length one, and that just removes it pretty quick. Okay, obviously this is just gluing just now. I'll get this bit done. I'm working on my brick embossed card just now, and that'll go in there, and I'll not be too fancy of a retaining wall, quite a simple retaining wall, and it'll obviously get gradually more as it goes down. Any suggestions for this area, guys, give me a shout, because I'm kind of, I'm still open to suggestions. I've obviously got the embankment going round here. I've got an embankment with a lower brick wall there, and then it'll rise to a large retaining wall right along here. So this section for a short period of time will appear that it's got walls at either side, as in cut right into the landscape. Okay, that's it for the October update just now. If you've got any comments or suggestions or questions, just post them at the bottom of this video. Cheers just now.